Every so often, a shoot 'em up will come along that'll be easy and accessible enough to welcome in a whole new generation of fans. That is definitely not the case when it comes to Lilac Zero. Instead of easing players into the action, this throwback shooter shoves you right into the deep end. Many will sink, unable to survive the aggressive bullet hell patterns. But those who are able to swim will be rewarded with not only an intense shooter, but one of the most satisfying gaming experiences of the year. For anybody who loves white-knuckling their way through a game, this is my review of Lilac Zero. Between the constant wars and the Nidhogg eating away at the roots, the machine world of Molybdean is in complete disarray. With a new robot army threatening to make everything even worse, an ancient warrior and blade-wielding automaton named Rairaku is deployed to end the fighting once and for all. This sets up 5 insanely difficult stages that take us into the sky, under the water, and into space to battle the hordes of metallic foes. Will you survive? Well, probably not, but what's the harm in trying, right? The gameplay is deceptively deep, allowing players to hone and master their skills with each approaching bad guy. Our main attack is a spray of bullets that'll slowly widen and retract as you hold the button down. There's a scan button you can hold down that'll target any of the enemies that it comes in contact with, allowing you to fire off a bunch of sword slashes while you're still shooting your guns. And you can keep doing this over and over. The only real downside to scanning enemies is that it slows down Rairaku's movement a little bit, which may actually be a good thing in certain situations. The final attack also doubles as a way to dodge enemy fire. Assuming your gauge is filled up, players will be able to dash out of the way, which has the added benefit of destroying robots and other enemies with your sword. There are also these orange enemies that you're going to have to look out for because they can only be defeated by using that dash and slash technique, which will also increase your style multiplier and give the player more points. While that may sound like a lot of ways to kill the robot horde, you'll quickly realize that our hero is woefully outmatched. Every single level is filled with unique enemies and obstacles, all of which will be bombarding Rairaku with complicated bullet patterns. Like I said at the top, this is a tough game by design. This is not the shoot 'em up you give to a novice, because even the easiest difficulty is harder than most of the games in the genre. This is for people who have already mastered Ikaruga and are looking for a new challenge. Look, right off the bat, you know you're in for a ride. You fly right above the city, shooting at robots and dodging bullets, only to burst through the clouds and see the night sky from a completely different perspective. This is your first sign that this is going to be a stylish game. Another stage starts with you diving deep into the ocean, where suddenly the robot enemies start to resemble something out of the Darius series. Let me tell you, you're going to be exhausted by the time you finally get into space. And that, my friends, is where this game really kicks into high gear. If you're anything like me, you're going to be happy that you earned that continue coin from beating the first stage. And then there are the bosses. Well, certainly not the biggest baddies you're going to run into. These bosses are tough. They also normally come with multiple steps that you'll need to complete before you can move on to the next stage. The second stage boss, which you're later going to be able to unlock as a playable character, has no fewer than 3 different forms, each more challenging than the last. Yeah, that's tough when you don't have a whole lot of lives, and a single hit will kill our hero. This is a game that wants you to play and replay until you've memorized the patterns. And even then, you're going to have quite the quick fingers to get around all those bullet patterns. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't speak about the game's difficulty as a negative. As far as I'm concerned, the challenge is a feature, not a bug. This is a game made for shoot 'em up veterans. I'm talking about the type of person who will spend countless hours trying to earn bigger multipliers and higher scores. The type of person who will memorize the game so that they can beat it without even dying. I'm talking about the type of person who won't even blink when they unlock a higher difficulty. If that describes you, then you're gonna love this game. However, if you're a more casual fan of the genre who isn't looking for that kind of challenge, then I'm gonna be honest with you, you're gonna want to stay far away from Lilac Zero. While I found the game to be incredibly difficult, I also found that it was strangely satisfying. With each step forward, I felt like I had accomplished something. The game was smart about giving you the option to play the levels out of order, letting you pick up with level 2 or 3 without constantly replaying that first stage over and over again. What's more, the game actually rewards you with things that you can unlock after each level and accomplishment, giving you an incentive to try just a little harder to beat that tough boss. Now, visually, this game is incredibly sharp. Right from the jump, it looks and sounds like the classic shoot-'em-ups that it's trying to emulate. We're trapped in an aggressively narrow aspect ratio that mimics the old-school displays, and the CRT scan lines and rounded frame go a long way to sell the effect. Beyond that, the level designs are absolutely striking. There's some truly gorgeous shots in this game, and I love the look and animation of our hero. While it might be a controversial choice, I love the muted color palette. It's not hyperbole when I tell you that this has one of the best looking boss fights I've ever seen in a shoot 'em up. If this is the developer's first game, I can't wait to see what it comes up with next. Look, maybe it's because I'm already a huge fan of Musha on the Genesis, but I had no problem finding my groove in Lilac 0. This is a game that simultaneously wears its influences on its sleeve while still offering something new and exciting to the genre. It's not the longest shooter on the market, but it's gonna take you a lot of trying to finally beat all the stages, especially if you intend to do it without continuing. Hardcore shooter fans are going to love the style and the challenge presented here. More casual genre fans need not apply. Depending on how much you like bullet hell shooters, Lilac 0 will either be the most exciting action game of the year or a maddeningly frustrating experience. Personally, I fell in love with the gorgeous pixel graphics, the minimal colors, the wide variety of locations, and the deceptively deep gameplay. Made for the kind of gamer who loves a good challenge, this is a game that definitely won't appeal to everyone. Despite constantly dying, I found Lilac 0 to be a rewarding and satisfying experience. I loved it, but this is going to be one of those times where it's best to know what you're getting yourself into before diving in. Hey, thanks for watching my review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now, here's the question I have for you. What's the hardest game that you've ever played? Look, it doesn't have to be a shoot 'em up, just as long as it's tough. Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we're going to be back later this week with a review of Rendering Ranger R2 Rewind, which has even more shooting. While you wait for that, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.